I also believe that there is always light at the end of the tunnel. Always light at the end of the tunnel. I remember doing farm crisis counseling back in the 80s. People, I remember when that was a tough period. That was a tough period where land values in some areas dropped 60%, where over 10,000 farmers in Minnesota went bankrupt. Those are tough times. I remember sitting across from 4 FFA students in Kearney, Nebraska, who were thinking about running away from home so they could take some of the financial burden off their parents. But things then got better because there's light at the end of the tunnel. How many people here remember the Great Depression? Right? Oh, a little bit of a liar's convention here. How many people ever remember somebody talking about the Great Depression? Yeah. I remember my grandfather when I was a kid. He would say, son, he said, you better hope you never see another depression. It wasn't the worst of times. It was worse than the worst of times. It wasn't the bottom of the barrel. It was beneath the bottom of that barrel. And I literally, honest to God, literally grew up fearing depression more than life or death. I thought it'd be easier to die than go through that. And then one day, I found this. Written by a farmer in Kansas who died in 1965. Sally Wall, his daughter, took his stuff to the funeral home, and inside the jacket, she felt a rustle and pulled out this paper. Now, this is a copy of it, but this is what. Written by her father in 1932, the heart of the Depression. Far beyond anything that we've faced since then. And he entitled it this way: I Like the Depression. Think about that. Next to the good book, it's probably the most influential thing I've ever read in my life, okay? Listen to these words. I like the Depression. No more prosperity for me. I have had more fun since the Depression started than I ever had in my entire life. You see, I had forgotten how to live and what it meant to have real friends and what it was like to eat common everyday food. Fact is, I was getting a little too high hat. I like the Depression. It's great to drop into a store and feel that you can spend an hour visiting with your friends and not feel like you're wasting valuable time. I like the Depression. I'm getting reacquainted with my neighbors, and we're following that biblical admonition to love them. Some of them I hadn't seen for years, but now we even get together and butcher a few hogs. I like the Depression. I haven't been out to a party in 18 months. My wife has dropped all her clubs and organizations, and I believe we're falling in love all over again. I'm pretty well satisfied with my wife. I think I'll keep her. Tell that was written in 1932. I'm feeling better since the Depression started because I'm getting more exercise. Why? Because I'm now walking to town. However, a lot of folks who are walking with me used to drive their Cadillacs. I like the Depression. I'm getting real, honest-to-goodness food now. 3 years ago, we had things like filet of sole, crab louie, Swiss steak with flour gravy. We had guinea hens and things called gourmet and oriental. And now we're back to eating sow bellies with the buttons on, still on them. Most people don't realize what that is. I like the Depression. 3 years ago, I never had time to go to church. I played checkers or baseball all day Sunday. Besides, there wasn't a preacher who could tell me anything. Now I'm going to church regularly, and I never miss a Sunday. And if this depression keeps on, I'll probably be going to prayer meetings before too long. Yes, now that I think about it, I like the Depression. One man in a pit of darkness who chose to keep his eye on the light at the end of the tunnel. And I'll tell you two things, people. This may be the most important thing I'll tell you today. All right? Number one, if this person were living next to you on your ranch or farm or in your community or whatever, there probably wouldn't be a night that you wouldn't go to bed thanking the good Lord that you had somebody like that in your life. But secondly, and more importantly, there's not one person in this room who couldn't be that lighthouse if you choose the high road instead of the low road. In fact, in 2000...